What's happening, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by 101cbd.org. Because in case you haven't heard, raw full spectrum CBD is the best thing for inflammation and anxiety. And when I'm looking for CBD products, I want the cleanest, most effective ones I can find. That's why I use and I recommend to people the ones from 101cbd.org. Right now I'm taking the Alleviate blend in the citrus flavor. And you've heard me say this before, I really do sleep better when I have my CBD on board daily. Now, I believe in these products so much, I'm giving the bacon flavor blend to my dog. So if you're looking for quality CBD products, go over to cbd101.org. See what they've got and order yourself some oil. And at checkout, use coupon code IMGS25 to get 25% off of that order. Now also, don't forget, if you're a cannabis cultivator, you can find out 4 times faster the sex of your plant when you use the plant DNA sex testing kit from Delta Leaf Labs. They make it really easy to take a sample. And then once you send that sample in, a couple of days after the lab gets it, you'll know exactly what you have to work with, a male or a female. So go over to deltaleaflabs.com, order your plant testing kits today, and at checkout, use coupon code IMGS10 to get 10% off of that order. All right. Now let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again for joining me. This is episode 68 of the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex, and it's a couple of days before the 4th of July, and today's show is coming out a little late because I had some more technical difficulties yesterday. You know, got everything ready, set up to record the show, turned on the computer, and the first thing that the computer said was, "Hey, update your virus protection." So I said, "All right," did that, updated it. You know, and you know how the computer, when you do stuff like that, it'll tell you to restart it. So I did that too, restarted, came back up. And when I went to go log back in, it said access denied. So yeah, that was an interesting day yesterday because I spent the majority of it trying to save a lot of my information from one user account and put it into a new user account. It was just a pain in the ass, man. I gotta tell you, it sucked. I guess the new update didn't jive with my old Windows 7. So it looks like the podcast is looking to buy a new computer. All right, well, enough of that. Later, I'm gonna play a conversation that I had with Joe Garcia. He's one of the founding members of the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Coalition. And like I was talking about, since it is almost the 4th, I'm gonna have some tips later about things to do to keep our dogs safe during the fireworks. But first, let's do the strain of the week, and I'm gonna give it up to the French cookies. All right, the French. And it is a Indica-dominant Hybrid flower. It's a cross between the cookies and the Paris OG. I've never even heard of the Paris OG, but it sounds very exotic, right? Very, very continental. Now, I'm not a big indica guy, but this was a really nice flower. It had great aroma. It had great flavor and taste. Since it was a heavy indica, it did have the potential to give me couch lock, which it did, because it was like the Lay's potato chips, man. I couldn't just take one hit. I had to finish the whole joint. After that, yeah, it was over. It was bye-bye time, nap time. But, you know, really great flower. If you need something to help relax you, to calm your mood, to get you to sleep, look for the French cookies. And shout out to my cousin because he got me that. All right, now let's move on to a couple of things that happened in my social media. Now, last Sunday, I did go out to the puff and paint that was put on by the Happy Tree art class. Once again, man, it was a fun time. Thank you again to Diane and Cheyenne for putting such a great event together. It was really awesome. Okay, because this time they brought in some live music, man, which I really enjoyed. And the musician goes by the name of Thursday Island Psychic Charity, or Tipsy. I like that. That's pretty cool. Like I said, I really enjoyed the guy's music, man, because he played acoustically, but he would layer these notes that he would play. It was just really awesome. If you get a chance, you should go find him on Instagram. You can find him at tripped_keys. And it's always a great time when I go to that puff and paint because it's $20 for a joint, an edible, some live music this time, and an art lesson. And this time the artist was a young lady by the name of Violet, and you can find her on Instagram at Bioket. That is Bioket. Go over there, find her, check out her stuff. She's got some really great stuff up there. Another thing that was surprising about that puffin paint was that it was sold out. They were maxed out. I think they had 25. It had to be at least 25, 30 people there, man. And as always, I met some really great people there too. So next time they have one, don't mess around. It does sell out. Get your tickets. And you can find them at Happy Tree Art Class 805 on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, I just discovered an account called Pot Brothers at Law. And it's these brothers that smoke pot, but they're also lawyers who just specialize in cannabis-related issues, whether it's personal or licensing. It's a really cool and really interesting Instagram account. You should go over there and check them out. That's at pot_brothers_at_law. Yeah, go find them, man. They got a lot of great information. I'm going to try to get them on the show. Hopefully they'll come on. And finally, in my social media, so I was talking to Dr. Eileen Gillen. Right, she was on the show a while ago. She's a veterinary doctor. And I was kind of picking her brain about tips for the 4th of July for our pets. But she wanted me to let you guys know that her CBD dog treats are finally on the market. And if you go over to botanicalveterinaryproducts.com, go over there, take a look at her dog treat products, take a look at her pet products, and right now until July 27th, you can get 15% off of your order when you use coupon code GRANDOPENBVP. So go over there and check it out, see what kind of dog treats she has for you. The ones I'm going to check out are the ones that she has for itchy skin for my little buddy Dante. Yeah, man. And that's it for my social media. So then let's move on to the report from the Cannabis Frontline. And we'll start with U.S. Senator Ron Wyden and Congressman Earl Blumenauer introduced legislation to allow for interstate commerce when it comes to state legal cannabis programs. So it sounds like they're pushing laws to have, interstate commerce for cannabis for states that have cannabis programs so we can sell cannabis between ourselves. That's awesome. And then Governor Janet Mills of Maine signed legislation into law setting rules and regulations for the adult use cannabis market. All right, Maine's coming online soon. And then Governor Chris Sununu of New Hampshire signed legislation into law allowing physician assistants to recommend medical cannabis for their patients. Which is a great thing for patients because now there's more access to someone who can actually say, here you go, here's your medical card. Also, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida signed industrial hemp production legislation into law. And that's a great thing for Florida farmers. They can finally start producing that hemp. And New Mexico's new decriminalization law takes effect this coming Monday, July 1. Right on for New Mexico, man. The next step from decriminalization is just legalize it. Why you just got to keep people in the system? There's no need, man. Don't misunderstand me like I said. Decriminalization's a great step forward. And that is the report from the Cannabis Frontline today. Alright. Now, like I was talking about, since it is the 4th here in a couple of days, the 4th of July, and there will be fireworks, whether you're going to have them at your house or anywhere else, and a lot of dogs don't do well with fireworks. And these are just some suggestions that I have to help keep your dog a little sane and safe for the 4th. Now, please remember, I am not a veterinarian. These are just my personal suggestions on what has worked for me and people that I know. Okay, if you're at home with your dog, stay calm. If your dog starts freaking out, don't start freaking out too. Find that favorite spot on their body that they like to be scratched and scratch them there. You know where it is. My dog, shamefully to say, it's kind of close to the butt. A little booty, like right before the tail. I don't like scratching them there in public, just because people think it's, people give me weird looks. But anyways, back to the dogs. Also, when you're talking to them, talk to them in a very calm, soothing voice. Like I said, don't get excited. Stay calm and they're calm. Before the fireworks, if you can, make sure they get their exercise. That way they're a little tired and they have less energy to really spend on being anxious. And keep their favorite toys nearby also. If you have to leave your dog home alone for the fireworks, here's what I suggest. Here's what I've seen that works. Okay, put the dog in the kennel. There's nothing wrong with the dog being in the kennel. They kind of like it. They feel safe. It's very primal. It goes back to being a wolf. It's like their den, And then before you leave, put on some music, some light jazz, nothing too heavy, nothing that's going to get them riled up, nice and relaxing. It's going to do two things. That's going to dampen kind of any outside loud noises, and it's also going to keep them calm. If you can, also leave some smart toys in their kennel with them. There's this one toy that we have, it's called a Kong. It's like a cone shape and has a hole on either end. You put treats inside or like some meat paste. And the dogs tend to focus their energy on those toys instead of just focusing on loud noises around them. Something else that I've seen that helps dogs is if you put a tight t-shirt on them, like a little kid t-shirt or something, okay? Not too tight, you don't want to cut off any circulation. But just a little tight-fitting t-shirt, a form-fitting t-shirt, how about that? Because that t-shirt's going to kind of mimic a hug. It's going to make them feel safe. And now if you're having like a 4th of July celebration at your house, like a barbecue, and people are going to be having fireworks and throwing little black cats around or sparklers, I'd suggest the same kind of thing. Put your dog in the kennel for the evening when that starts to happen. Check on him every once in a while, make sure he's all right. Because in those situations also the dog could get really scared. And the final thing, of course, to kind of tie this all back together, to kind of tie this all back to cannabis, is give them a little bit of CBD. That's going to help with the anxiety. That's going to help with the fear. I'm not going to say it's totally going to calm them down, but it will help with it. Get them some nice CBD products, no THC in it, because it's kind of hard to dose dogs in THC. They're really sensitive to it. So when you get the CBD, make sure it's hemp derived. It would be my suggestion. Yeah, get them a nice CBD product in them. Get them a nice CBD oil in them to help them with that anxiety. All right. Well, that's all I have for my suggestions for the 4th for your pets. Now I'm going to play a little bit of music, and then I'm going to play that conversation that I had with Joe Garcia. Now, the phone call does kind of get a little rough in some spots, and I did my best to kind of clean it up because the phone connection was a little bad in some spots. But I just decided to go ahead and put it together and put it up because I really wanted to get this conversation with Joe out there. So hang tight for a little bit. I'm going to play some music, and then I'm going to play that for you. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm excited to have with me on the phone, and I'm really lucky to have with me on the phone, is Joe Garcia. Joe, brother, how you doing today, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm doing well. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on to your show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've been trying to get you on the show for a little while. But so do me a favor, before we get too far into the conversation, can you introduce yourself a little better than what I just did?
Sure. My name is Joe A. Garcia. I am co-founder of the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association.
Hey, now, when you talk about the association, so who's involved in that? And what do you guys, who exactly is involved in that? Is that like grower operations and dispensaries or?
No. So the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association, to put it lightly, is kind of similar to a union. We're not a union. We are a 501c6 nonprofit organization. We just recently received our nonprofit status. We are comprised of operators of cannabis businesses, farmers, cultivators, manufacturers, distributors, and people who are just patients and connoisseurs of cannabis, people that are for cannabis and for what it represents and for what it does for them. We started off small. We slowly built up this organization with small membership fees, and we are growing rapidly at this point now that we have our nonprofit status.
Hey, so I remember a while ago hearing that Lompoc was going to allow public use spaces. Some places to actually go and smoke joints with your friends?
Yes, that's absolutely true. So during the process when we were advocating here for the ordinance number 164017 here in Lompoc, that ordinance created the legal and regulated attitude here in Lompoc atmosphere. And in doing so, when I advocated for some of the things with others here in Lompoc, I was chief to advocate for on-site consumption. And the reason for that, Lompoc is a community of 40,000 people that are wrapped up in 2 square miles. It's a little bit packed here. Many people, though, here in Lompoc do not own their homes. They rent. They're in HOA housing, whatever it may be. They don't have the availability to. They don't have ownership. And with that, Proposition 64 states that legally the only place that someone can consume cannabis in the privacy of their own home or in a business which has been granted on-site consumption use by a local jurisdiction. So it was very important for us to advocate for on-site consumption in Lompoc due to the high number of people that do not own their homes. So what can happen is, Alex, if you own your home and you're renting it out, and the person that you're renting to is a cannabis user, you as a homeowner can say that you do not want anyone to grow cannabis. You don't want them to consume cannabis in your house. And that puts people in a legal crunch. If the only way you can legally consume cannabis is either in a house that you own or have permission to smoke in, or in a business that's been approved by a local jurisdiction, that tells you that you've got 2 choices. And if choice number 1 is not available, then that makes you an automatic criminal to consume cannabis, because you have to do it in a place that's not legally allowed to do so. And that was the argument which we used here in Lompoc, was that we don't want to legalize something and regulate something and then create a new criminal by not allowing any place to use this product. And the city council agreed that it was probably a good idea to go ahead and allow some on-site consumption places. Now, there are separate rules concerning on-site consumption here in Lompoc compared to just a place that may be just for retail. And that starts off with the zoning requirements of distance from sensitive areas such as schools, youth centers, daycares, so forth. So currently Lompoc has it to set with state standard that was given of 600 feet from a school or sensitive area. And when it comes to on-site consumption, that number climbs to 1,000 feet from a sensitive area. So that makes it very challenging here in Lompoc, with the proximity of how kind of small an area that Lompoc is. When you start going 1,000 feet, you're pretty close to running into some fences. So physical space is what is the main challenge to allow these things. Now, you have to think about the laws of California dealing with secondhand smoke, insurance issues, things like that. Similar things that maybe a bar would have to consider if you went in to drink alcohol, obviously, and then left, got in your car. There's some responsibility there on the establishment itself to make sure that you're able to leave there without, killing somebody. And some of those concerns are being brought up, and it's unfortunate that some of those conversations that are going on concerning the cannabis lounge are related to secondhand smoke, when state law specifies that secondhand smoke laws are for tobacco and not for cannabis. And they were expressly not included in the law when cannabis laws were rewritten and came into effect. Those secondhand smoking laws were not changed to include cannabis. So it's unfortunate that there's some holdups here, but we're confident that Todd will be able to open up here in the near future, and that we will be able to bring the first on-site consumption facility between San Francisco and Los Angeles here, hopefully by the end of the year.
Well, I think it's really smart the way Lompoc went as far as having that conversation about allowing on-site consumption because of a housing issue, because a lot of places don't start having that conversation until after laws are passed. And the housing people are just, trying to either catch up or, like you said, all of a sudden there's a whole population, a new population of criminality that really is innocuous. Is really isn't. I mean, you just created a whole new population of them, man. Now, absolutely. But now, as far as the on-site, like let's say like a can of cafe, the smoking. I mean, I would think you could just put a bunch of HEPA filters up in the ceiling and you're good to go as far as filtering the air, right? Because the question is, how many times can you refresh the air in a minute?
Yeah, those are good questions, and again, those are issues that have compounded this. But you're right. Many places have, I believe there was a statistic that I heard that there's about 450 cities in California, and about 70% of those cities or jurisdictions have banned cannabis either altogether or in some type of way. So, I mean, you're already looking at a map here in California of places where there's these what we call deserts of no cannabis or banned cannabis after it was legalized. Which is pretty sad because, a majority of Californians pass this, and honestly, these bans and these restrictions are really compounding the situation in California with licensing and getting businesses online more rapidly. So with the Lompoc going through all this, Lompoc's had struggles. We're not off of the 101 freeway. You have to kind of veer off and make your way west, and you have to be wanting to come here on purpose to come to Lompoc. You don't just accidentally drive through Lompoc. So getting people to come out here to spend money, to tax revenue, those have always been issues here in Lompoc over the past 20 years. And getting businesses to be able to maintain themselves and to generate enough customers to come in has always been an issue. But something that I would like to note is one dispensary that opened up here has shared with me that a total of 38% of their receipts of their purchases are coming from people who live outside of 93436, outside of Lompoc's zip code, which is really big news. It means, that people are leaving Santa Barbara, people are leaving Santa Maria, Buellton, wherever, and they're coming to Lompoc to do shopping. And, they're coming here now for the first time, buying here, eating here, maybe staying here, and it's changing things in Lompoc. Really, there is a turnaround, a significant turnaround here in Lompoc that's being created as we speak due to legalization or regulation. And we have one of the most liberal ordinances concerning cannabis in the state of California. We are a community that has no limits. We are a free market. We can bring in 27 bars here in Lompoc. We can bring in 27 dispensaries. And that's what's great. It makes it to where there's no room for bribery. There's no room for corruption to say, hey, let me in and don't let this person in. You've seen cases like that happen up in Grover Beach with allegations. We don't have that here in Lompoc. We have a free market. So there's no limit. As long as you can find a place that meets the requirements of the zoning, you can open up shop here in Lompoc and have a business. And, with an open market, that means you're going to have more competition. You're going to have, it's going to make it harder on the dispensary because they're going to have to put out better product, better service, and just be the best in order to survive. There are businesses that are going to fail just like in any other industry. So if you want to come here and you're going to be making an investment, you need to know what you're walking into here. There's a high competition, which means that it's going to reflect back upon you to deliver a really good business here in Lompoc.
Hey,
But all these things are changing, the dynamics of everything. There's so many things, and I think I veered off from your question, so I apologize for that.
no, that's fine. It just brings up another question that I've got is, so it sounds like there is some kind of pushback to the cannabis community. And I'm wondering, what kind of education would it take to really turn Lompoc into this, let's say this this tourist kind of place that a small town really does need, like you said, because you do need that outside support to keep these local businesses going, not just cannabis businesses, but other little touristy things that Lompoc does.
Yeah. Well, again, it's notable where Lompoc's location is. We're not on a major freeway system, so you have to get off the major freeway and get on a little highway and drive an extra 30 minutes or so to get into Lompoc. And that does change things, but Lompoc truly is a hidden gem. Aside from its few problems that it has in certain areas, Lompoc is a great community to live in. Number one, we have some of the best weather in California. We have one of the most moderate climates here. It's going to be 70 degrees today in Lompoc. It's beautiful outside. And that's something that a lot of people, when they come here, they learn to appreciate the beautiful climate here. But what's going to bring people in here, like you said, for tourism? There's about 50 wineries in Lompoc currently. It's spread out in the wine ghetto and individual places. So Lompoc has found ways to bring itself back up. And now that we have cannabis, it's just another added gem here. We've got 3 dispensaries right now, and as I mentioned, one business is claiming that 38% of their sales are coming from outside of Lompoc coming in, and that's fantastic. And a way for Lompoc to grow and to build upon this. I mean, we're going to have about 10 or 11 dispensaries or retail businesses which are going to open up in Lompoc, which would include recreational dispensaries, medical dispensaries, and delivery services. So you have these new businesses, competition is there, but having 11 businesses that sell pot is not going to bring people in per se. I could go to Santa Barbara or Goleta or Ojai. There's other places where you can go if you're just looking to buy some cannabis. You don't have to come to Lompoc just because we have 11. So what is going to bring people to Lompoc? I believe that the next green rush that we're going to see is going to be in cannabis lounges. People want to consume cannabis in a public space just like they want to consume alcohol. It's a social event. It's something that gets people together. They talk, they laugh, they have fun, and you're doing it in a safe environment that's created just to do such a thing. And with Lompoc having an open market, the only thing that needs to be done is a business owner needs to find a business that falls within the 1,000 feet of a sensitive area, and we have availability to have cannabis lounges. And I've coined the term Lompoksterdam because Lompoc truly is very similar in many ways. So like going to Amsterdam, you go into a cafe and eat something. We don't have all of that set up just yet. Rome wasn't built overnight, neither will Lompoc in the cannabis industry, but it's coming. In just the past 6 months, we've seen 3 businesses open, and there is so much action happening right now behind the scenes, things that we don't know about. So many businesses that are investing right now in Lompoc. And once those businesses come online, that's really when you're going to see a big turn here, and Lompoc is going to become a powerhouse. I believe that Lompoc will be the capital of cannabis here on the Central Coast.
So what's the vibe there as far as like cannabis events, like public consumption cannabis events, like a concert or a festival?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, on Wednesday, the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association, as you mentioned before in some of your other podcasts, will be having a social mixer. We're calling it Cannabrew. Cannabrew is going to basically be a bunch of people that are in the cannabis industry or supporters that are going to come together. They're going to mingle, have a couple drinks. We can't have on-site consumption where we're going to have it. As again, we're waiting for these on-site consumption places to open up. You asked me what the attitude was, correct? Of having like events and stuff like this. Well, on Wednesday, I'm going to announce that the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association has received its 501c6 nonprofit status, and as part of our mission of the association, we would like to bring in a festival here to Lompoc. We would like it to make it the flagship of our organization, once a year festival here in Lompoc. We would have to obviously figure out the details of where we would host it and who we would bring in and the size of it, all those types of things. We still need to work out a few things with the city government here as far as organizing stuff. But we feel very confident that we're going to be able to bring in a festival here in Lompoc, which will focus on cannabis. Really be a staple on the Central Coast here as far as bringing people in concerts, all those things. I believe that what happens at Avila Beach can happen here in Lompoc with a cannabis background.
What happened at Avila Beach?
Well, what happens at Avila Beach is they have a venue there to host concerts. I was just there on Thursday night. I went and saw Revolution in concert at Avila Beach. It was great. A couple thousand people show up, spend money on merchandise, drinks. It was, by the way, it was a non-consumption event, but I can tell you that 50% of the people there were consuming.
Oh, I'm sure they were. No, well, but I thought they, yeah, I'm sure they were, man. But I thought it wasn't a loud kind of thing at Avila. Like they're like, oh yeah, go ahead and
No, absolutely, it's illegal to consume cannabis in public.
It's always got this quasi-legal label on it. So
it's not enforced, I guess you could say.
So what's the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association working on?
The Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association continues to work. As I mentioned before, we're going to be introducing the North County Farmers Guild Committee on Wednesday night to talk about how we're going to be using that committee, which has its own bank account and has is set up to function in a way to be able to combat the anti-cannabis people here in the county and to promote reasonable and responsible farming of cannabis here in the county. We understand there's a lot of people here that are in uproar in the county over the way that the county has allowed for the cannabis industry to come into Santa Barbara County and to set up shop. Santa Barbara County is the #1 county in the state of California for cannabis cultivation, outbeating Humboldt County, although I understand that those numbers are, there's only like a difference of about 12 permits between Humboldt and Santa Barbara County at this point.
Yeah, when I read that, I was really surprised.
Yeah, so we have, we have everything. If you think about it, the whole chain of supply is right here in Santa Barbara County, from cultivation to retail, including a laboratory testing facility, which is opening up here in Lompoc. You hear a lot about that there's no testing facilities in Santa Barbara County, and that's not true. There is this testing facility that is opening up here in Lompoc. So, I mean, you're going to have your cultivators growing out in Santa Barbara County. They're going to sell to a distributor. The distributor is going to bring it here to Lompoc. Lompoc is going to manufacture that cannabis into and distribute it into packaging, into concentrates, vaping pens, topicals, edibles, you name it. It's going to be produced right here in Lompoc. So we have the whole supply here in the county ready to just come in and feed Lompoc to produce, get product out there and get it out throughout California. A lot of it's going to be coming right here from Lompoc.
Say, brother, let me change topics here a little bit with you.
Absolutely.
So now you put out like 3 or 4 episodes of a TV show about cannabis, right? Cannabis related. Are they still up on YouTube? Can we still find those?
Yeah, so the name of my show was Canavision with Joe Cannabis. And it was nothing big. It was just a public access TV show. And I started it 1 year ago, and I ran it again through public access with volunteers. We were able to put together a few shows, and we had quite an elaborate show with different segments. We had a cooking segment that aired every episode that basically put a recipe together for simple stuff such as just making canna butter or cookies. I think that in our Thanksgiving episode that we did, the chef of segments made infused mashed potatoes. So, we have that segment going on for people to learn how to cook with cannabis. We had an educational segment that spoke about the effects of cannabis, THC, delta-9 cannabinoid, CBD extracts, the plant itself growing, the difference between sativa, indica, hybrid, ruderalis. Those are the focuses that segment was on. I had a segment on the show called Joints with Joe, in which I basically interviewed somebody, and the idea was to smoke a joint and have a discussion. Didn't quite work out that way though, because much of the segment that we shot for that show was in the studio where we couldn't do consumption, but the idea was there. And what happened was, you had 3 or 4 people that were involved in the show, and people got, caught up with work, schooling, and just life altogether. The purpose of the show was to reach out to some of the older community, the community that may not quite fully understand what cannabis does.
Yeah, for sure.
People that perhaps, still believed in the old guard's telling of that cannabis was bad for you. And I wanted to reach out to those people and to educate them about what cannabis does.
Yeah, because it's very possible.
Public access was a perfect venue for that, because much of my target audience watches public access.
Man, I guess you're right.
Though, it kind of served out its purpose with the advancement of legalization here, and the number of conversations with the media, the newspapers, City Hall, forums online. There's so much discussion about cannabis, and really just the people just weren't able to commit to continuing to produce the show. So we just felt that, we put out a few episodes. We kind of got a little mission across, a little statement across in that mission, and we felt that we did a good job. But at this point in time, we can't continue to do it. Hopefully, though, we will bring something similar back in the near future. And to answer your question, yes, you can still see these episodes on YouTube under Canavision with Joe Cannabis. But I will warn everybody, this is not any nominated work here.
Hey, man, I just appreciate the work in general, just anyone who's out there giving information, that's awesome. And what I'm really curious about is that, so I've been thinking about doing like a cooking segment on my show, and I'm trying to figure out how would that translate just on an audio show, just on an audio podcast. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but yeah, when I do, like you did, I'm just going to probably start with a really simple, get somebody that I know that actually does produce edibles and just explain how they make a can of butter.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a difficult challenge, being that a lot of ways, people are used to seeing.
Yeah, especially something like cooking. They're like, I don't know. Yeah, so like I said, still got to figure out how that's going to actually work.
Yeah, I think you can probably figure it out something here.
Yeah, we'll do something.
There's always room for new ideas and new ways of putting it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we're gonna figure it out, and then we'll get it out there. Hey, real quick, so Joe, do you grow at all?
I do grow. I have my personal crop that I grow here at my residence. I'm growing 10 plants this season with my medicinal card.
Nice, man. So are you mostly a sativa guy, an indica guy? What do you like to? How do you like to get down?
I am a person who always I'm a person that always chooses option B, all of the above. But my personal
you don't discriminate?
My personal preference is indica.
Really? Huh. Well, right on. That's cool. Me, I'm a sativa guy.
Okay.
I like the uplifting, all of it.
Yeah, I enjoy the numbing feeling. It relieves pain and helps you to sleep. So indica's my go-to. But again, I like all cannabis.
Likewise, I don't discriminate. I've never said no to a joint that was ever passed to me, for sure.
Right.
Hey, Joe. Hey, man, I want to thank you for getting on the phone with me, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I hope Lompoc and Santa Barbara County have the opportunity to be leaders in the state of California, and it is my job to help that become a reality. People like yourself, Alex, that do take the time to put on shows to get information out are critical in the California movement to keep people's voices heard and to keep the conversation moving. I really would like to thank you for this opportunity to come on and to speak my mind and to talk about some of the things happening here in Lompoc. I truly appreciate your support and the support of all the people who have helped to make Lompoksterdam a reality.
Lompoksterdam, huh? All right. No, yeah, man, absolutely. Like I said, man, I appreciate you taking the time, and you're welcome anytime to come on the show and just talk about whatever you want.
Great. Awesome.
Right on. Hey, Joe, don't go anywhere. Everybody else, I will be back in just a bit. Well, brothers and sisters, that's it. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I want to thank Joe Garcia for getting on the phone with me, taking some time to talk to me. Let me know what's going on up there in Lompoc, up in the North County, they call it. Remember, if you have a comment or a question about this episode, please send me an email. That is inmygrow@gmail.com. Or just find me on Instagram at inmygrow. Don't forget, if this episode has educated you, entertained you, or even given you a little escape from your day, go over to patreon.com and leave a financial donation. Or you can go over to inmygrow.com, click on the Support the Show tab and buy a t-shirt. Or even easier than that, click on the Amazon link in the show notes before you go shopping at Amazon, because that just lets them know that we sent you and the show gets a commission. Now, like I was saying earlier, those funds help me keep the show running. It helps me buy equipment because I do need a new computer. Helps me pay for hosting fees. It just makes it a lot easier for me to keep the show going when I've got that financial support from you guys. So I appreciate, and every amount is appreciated. $1, $5, $1 million. It's all good. Send it in. I'll put it to good use. Now, if you can't support the show financially, don't worry about it. I get it. But here's how you can help. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the website. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then tell 3 other people about the show. That's it. Really easy. Really painless. All right, mis amigos, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I love you all very much. And don't forget to always grow, learn, and teach.